Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to the War Camp. We are picking up with our Satsuma campaign, and this is going to be an interesting video, and I'll tell you why. I recorded this video not realizing that when I had previously tripped over my microphone, which is on a cord, that it caused problems with my voice. Normally I check the microphone, I'll record a little bit with my voice just to make sure everything's good, and wouldn't you know it, the one time that I don't, there's this this problem. So what I decided to do was take the video that I had recorded and just record another video while it's playing in the background and kind of describe what was going on and maybe touch on some other stuff too. It won't be exactly what I had been talking about, but it'll be close enough. So we had decided to attack the second to last Matsue army, and this is at Shirbeshi, and it was obviously, you can see the fog in the background, and I'm setting up my army, and I realize that my secondary army is going to appear behind the enemy. And I wasn't sure if within that red circle, if they were going to stay very close to where my army was going to spawn and just attack them as they came onto the field. That was a very real concern of mine. It was unfounded, of course, because that is not what ended up happening. But basically what I'm just trying to do is right here is set up the artillery, set up my general, make sure that my general is inspiring. See the blue radius? I'm just trying to make sure that it's separate from where the United States Marines radius is, so that way that both sides of the army are getting some sort of morale coverage. This army doesn't have a lot of melee troops, so I had to be very careful, and I also realized I'm still using wooden cannons, and I will end up getting rid of them, I believe. I'm setting up my artillery. Normally I put my artillery, as you've seen in my videos, I intermingle them in the infantry line. I'll put an infantry unit, and then I'll put cannons, and then infantry, and then cannons, and so on and so forth. But this time I decided to put the cannons in the back, and that ends up causing a little bit of problems later on. But for now it's going to work fine because the enemy is far enough away, and as you can see, my army is going to come on the field of battle behind the enemy army, and they are not going to be attacked until we move in. And in fact, it kind of works to our advantage because the enemy army, fearing the prospect of getting sandwiched between our two forces, it's going to go ahead and charge in and at least try and destroy one of our armies. So I understand that strategy. And you can see here we're moving out the secondary army. We've got a lot of cav in that army. And our artillery is opening up, and we are just trying to cause as much damage as we can. I'm going to set up the cannons along one side. I'm going to take all of the cavalry and group them up. I'm going to try and hit the enemy rear with mixed results, as you will see soon. Yeah, I'm sorry for the lack of background game sound, but you can barely tell that I'm talking in the background, so I just decided to keep the volume down for this video. So the general unit is coming our way, and I decided it's a perfect opportunity to take my cav forces, and when the general realizes that we're trying to strike him, he's trying to stay out of our reach, so I take the last cavalry division and I cut sharply over to hook him, but we hooked him sooner than that anyway. So some of the enemy units turn around, they're rifle units, and they are shooting at our cav, and unfortunately the general holds out for quite a while. A lot longer than he should when he's facing all of those different cavalry forces surrounding him. He holds out, and the enemy gets some really good shots at us, but the majority of their army does continue our way. You can see a small unit of spear troops, and I mean tiny. So we decide to push our cav back just as the general unit is broken. Yeah, and as the advisor says, the general does die, so that helps us a lot. So we pull back. And that's really about all, I believe, that's really about all that secondary army does. Because at this point, we're hammering the enemy with artillery. Their general is dead. Their morale is low. One of their units has already routed. And the rest of their army is damaged. And they're attacking in piecemeal. I think I do fear that some of their units will break into our line, and so I do shift some of our melee troops over, but it ends up being pretty unfounded. Um, this was not a close battle by any stretch of the imagination. One good volley completely destroyed the morale of that spear unit, and so that's 2 units that have routed, and the rest of their army is very clumped together. And this is where problems start coming. Look right there. Our artillery hit our own infantry line. Because the enemy is getting so close, some of these cannonballs are going through the line, like right there. And so I immediately stop firing all of our artillery, and this becomes a infantry fight. But as you can see, look, it caused a chain rout. Their unit is, their army is pretty much gone. I thought about sending my cav out, continuing the battle, and charging in, but I figured that we'd have just about as many kills just ending it here, where the computer, approximates how many men it should lose, and most of the time after ending a battle, the enemy army is destroyed anyway, so I just decided to end it. As you can see, we lost 108 men, that's it, and the enemy army was completely destroyed. So that gives us Shirabeshi, and it gives us a staging point for the final charge, which will be Sapporo, obviously. We're still having some trouble with enemy navies around the rear areas of our territory, especially from our starting 2 territories. Because we made that port a trading port, the enemy comes at us with naval ships quite often, as you've seen. We have other armies that have done raiding. Some of their ships have bombarded us. Everything they can do to just harass and sap our strength. It's not going to be very effective, though. I had to put 2 infantry units in Kaga because the population was dissatisfied. But those infantry units are eventually going to go to our daimyo's army. We are going to modernize because right now he only has line infantry, and we want to use Republican troops. Obviously, the next goal is to take on Noto, and I have a naval force there, and we are bombarding their territory. And what's going to end up happening is they're going to have a rebellion that they have to deal with. Unfortunately, it doesn't cause the type of damage that I would like. But every little bit helps, I suppose. Yep, you can see the red. You saw it briefly there if you're watching the screen. The population's really angry, and they will rebel. We have to take care of... We have 1 enemy ship. And of course, we've got the remnants of that Sato force. So we're going to need to destroy them. They're going to try and run, but we're going to use our samurai hero to finish these guys off. We don't fight this battle. We just go ahead and auto-resolve it. And we actually take more losses than I thought. But it ends up working out for us. I accidentally misclicked. I did not mean to send those units. I wasn't paying attention properly. And just like right here, you see that those 2 units that are blocking the path? I'm going to send one of my armies forward, but because that unit is blocking the path, it's going to try and send the army the long way around. So that was a cause of minor annoyance. We use one of our veterans to try and take out that ninja. I forget if we get him on the first try or not. Yeah, yep, we're going to use our foreign veteran. Yep, we failed the first time. And my geisha, yep, you can't, he's uncorruptible. There's no turning him to the dark side. So we're just going to have to deal with that enemy ninja. Luckily, he doesn't assassinate any of our people. Spoiler. And you can see we're looking at Sapporo and the enemy army. And look right there. It's going to have us go around an even longer route because of those two troops that are there. I think what I end up doing is I just send in my other army that's closer. And then the army that's currently clicked on, I think I just send back to Shirbeshi. Alright, so this area here, on the extreme edge of the Kansai region, look in the middle there where my ninja is. Look at all of those statues. There's been so many battles in this region, so many epic engagements, and I think that we're going to have at least one more in that region before it's all said and done. Because we have Sunpu, the Green Army, and they've got 6 territories, and they have quite a few forces. It seems like... Oh yeah, we're going to... Nope, we failed to take out the enemy veteran. I think my other ninja succeeds, though. He does. So anyways, I was saying Sunpu, as fast as we're destroying armies, it seems like they're bringing another one up, which is interesting and it's fun. My damaged army needs time to repair, and I think I send out the other army. I want to lay siege to Mino, but what happens is my army gets stuck because of all those enemy formations, just like my daimyo's army previously up there in Kaga, or Echi, whichever one it was. I remember where our daimyo's army couldn't move for the longest time. My army there gets stuck. Those units can join with the cav unit that's outside of it, but then they're stuck. So I have to use my other army. And of course, going back to Musashi and the castle town of Edo, ever since we've lost it, we've just bombarded it and caused as much damage, and basically just trying to create a huge repair bill for Sunpu. We have our ninjas, we assassinate veterans whenever we can, and cause damage to the buildings. And so they own Edo, but I think they've really got a case of buyer's remorse going on. Now I'm going to send my navy in, and I see that there are 2 enemy ships, which normally wouldn't be a problem, but some of my ships are damaged and I don't want to lose them. So I end up calling off the attack and I send in my other naval force. Of course, the enemy ships will flee. They weren't going to stick around. So now my ships don't have the reach or the movement to attack the enemy, but I hear cannons going off, so that tells me that their ships are by one of my ports. So what I decide to do is I want to see if there's any other naval ships in the area. Yep, because you see that? Look, you can see the cannons going off on the coast. And luckily I see one of my navies that I had been bringing up, and I start looking for the enemy ships, and I find both of them. And I go ahead and knock them both out. We sink both of those ships, and that's good. And I send the ships up there to the north to try and stop further enemy ships from sailing past. And I decide the damaged ships, so I'm going to repair those. Right here, yeah, one of my ninjas got Heartless Killer. I was pretty pleased about that, because that means he's going to assassinate people very well. But I saw that there was a port blockaded, and it was supposed to be here, but there's no enemy ships. So I send my Navy over just to confirm, and sure enough, this port is absolutely safe. There is nothing going on at that moment. I decide to take all my new guns. I've got 2 siege, 100-pound siege guns, 2 Gatling guns, and 2 Armstrong guns, and I'm going to move to load them up on the ship and carry them to the front line. Originally, I was going to summon 2 units with my general because we need to buy 2 new cavalry, but we don't have the money for that, so I just put them back inside the castle for now. Our army is very close to getting to Sendai. They'll be there next turn. And we do bring one of our naval fleets in to bombard the coast. Not the coast, excuse me, the castle town. We don't get a lot of kills, but every little bit helps. The Shogunate forces only have 2 territories in the north at this point, so that's a huge cause for celebration in our part. And I think by the end of this video, I think both of those territories will be under siege or close to it. Sendai actually has more troops in the north than I thought they do. They have more than a full stack army. And the enemy navies are going to continue to sail forward, grab trade routes, and continue to bombard. So there's the rebel army, and they don't last very long, unfortunately. Alright, so other Shogunate clans have flocked to Mino to assist the Takatsuki. If we destroy the Takatsuki army and take Mino, then the Takatsuki forward line will be gone, and then we will be coming up against Sunpu, and I forget whatever clan that little pink clan there in the center is. I think I'll mention this now. This is not something I mentioned in the video, but I figured out how to record with my webcam on. I work for an IT company. You'd think I would be more tech savvy, but I've just figured that out. So that's probably something I'll do, starting with Napoleon, which is what I'm going to play after this. I'm going to focus on Napoleon. Some of you have given me really, really good ideas for mods. I tried some of those mods. I tried activating them for this campaign, but because I haven't used them from the beginning, it kept making my game crash. So I couldn't use them here, but I will definitely use some of those mods in the next time I do a Shogun campaign, which will be Aizu, as well as in Napoleon Total War as well. But yeah, I'll probably record with my video camera on. Not that any of you probably care what the heck I look like, but just for fun. I'm not overly concerned with getting a lot of viewers. As long as there's people that enjoy watching the videos that I create, that's enough for me. I don't care if it's 5 subscribers or 500. I'm not about trying to be the biggest and the best. I never will be. There are a lot of people that have better sounding voices, more engaging personalities than I do. I have a love for history, and I like recording these videos for fans that also like history or that love strategy games, or if you like Star Wars, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So the enemy here, they've left Sapporo behind, and what looks like they're going to do is they're going to swing around to Iburi, and they're going to leave their last territory completely defenseless. So what I decide to do is move my ninja down, and I will sabotage their army so they can't move, because we have no one in that other territory, and I don't want them to take it from us. So all I did was switch the armies. I've got one heading towards Sapporo, and the initial army that went off on that side path. They're just going to go ahead and chill in Shirabeshi for now. It's going to take us 3 turns to get to Sapporo. There we go again, bombarding Edo. Just making life as miserable for them as possible. And we're going to keep that up until we take it back. And when I take it back this time, it's going to be with a minimum of 2 armies landing together. The Shogunate Vanguard has quite a few armies. I'm sure you've watching my videos, you've seen their armies march back and forth. We knocked out a good number of them trying to defend Edo, but there is more and more of them. We wounded an enemy Shinsengumi. Yep, so the whole army is stuck there at Mino like I was talking about. And we will send our secondary army to knock out the enemy so that that army can move again. Oh, before that, what I do is I use my ninjas to sabotage the enemy so that when I attack, these other armies cannot intervene. And here we go, putting my plan into motion. They're going to run, so I think I take out some of my cav. Yep, that's exactly what I do. There we go, and we've brought 3 of their forces into battle against our 1 army. They will outnumber us by a good margin, but they just don't have the quality of troops to hold us back. The ground on this map, as I recall, wasn't terrible, but it wasn't amazing either. I could have gone and hill camped, but I decided not to do that. We used some of the lower level territory. All 3 enemy armies spawn on that side of the map, and they do coordinate against us. Yep, you can see by the radiuses, those are the 2 other enemy armies that are coming on the field of battle. And as you'll see, I will make use of the high ground, just not the high ground. Actually, I think I take my cavalry. If I'm not mistaken, I think I take all of my cav and I use it as a flanking force. I think I send it up to the tree line. I'm trying to remember because it's been a while. After I found out that the sound didn't work, I was a little bit discouraged. And I came back to this video a couple days later, and that's when I had this idea of just recording over it. So those little hills, that's where I'm going to put my infantry. And the artillery is going to go on the higher hills behind, as I recall. I don't have many rifle units. I only have 5 in that army, plus some bow troops plus our ninjas, obviously. But as far as a gun line, a rifle line, not so much. So we kind of have to create a smaller front than we normally would with some of our other armies. This army has 4 units of cav, and I think we use those pretty effectively if memory serves. The enemy does decide to attack us, but they are quite generously giving us all the time in the world that we need to position our guns and to get everything in order. I create a secondary line of melee troops as a reserve. I love having reserves whenever possible. The enemy is just now starting to move forward in a cohesive line, but they're going to go very slowly because they are currently half of their armies in the woods, which affects movement speed. I don't remember if this enemy army had a lot of Shogunate units or not, but pretty much every army we've been engaging in for like the last 5 or 6 or more videos has had some form of Shogunate. And we've also seen how stubborn they can be and how devastating they really can be too. The artillery's opened up. I think they are aiming for the general unit, or excuse me, one of the general units. There are technically 3. There's a big clump of troops, and we are going to aim for that. Yep, there's definitely at least 1 unit of Shogunate. I saw it on the screen. Oh yeah, there's more. The tree line is going to give them some protection, but not a lot. Yeah, look, if you look up to the north, I had sent my cav into the woods, and we will attack south with that cav. I love flanking and rolling up the flanks specifically, just like Stonewall Jackson and his corps did at the Battle of Chancellorsville, where he rolled up Oliver Howard's 11th Corps. Stuff like that. I love it. And I love Hammer and Anvil. You see that a lot. I try not to do it too much. I try and find other ways to win, like one of our old videos where we were fighting for control of the town, and I had the infantry charge in around the town from the left, and I moved the cav around the right to hit the enemy from behind. You know, things like that. I mean, just I like to switch it up whenever I can. I don't ever want to bore anybody by, oh, look, it's just another lining up the troops in a row and being done with it. If I'm going to do that strategy, I like to get melee troops involved. I like to get cav involved. I like to focus and zoom in on the artillery just to make it a more fun show for you guys. I like to do first-person camera mode too, but I haven't done any of those recently because every time I do, it just never seems to work out. The camera just kind of spins and I'm like, oh man, somebody's going to watch this and get dizzy or something like that. So look, if you look here, the enemy still, even when they're this close, they're not charging in. They're still walking at that pace, which is giving us some invaluable time to get some artillery shots in. I think this is when I send out my cav. Yep. And we're going to knock out that unit of Shogunate because I do not want that unit flanking us. The gun line is opened up, and I believe the Shogunate unit breaks before they reach us. They're going to take some withering volleys of fire. Yep, I shift my melee troops down because I fear that the enemy's going to actually reach our line, and I think they do. I thought they meant my main general, but they actually meant my cav because we had one unit of cav start on the field by themselves, which made it a general unit. And that unit is inside that cluster of cav there that's taking on the Shogunate. So that's what I'm worried about right here. I'm worried about the general. It's a Hatsumoto unit. It's a big unit. And I go ahead and I send out my spear troops and I just kind of hold them there, trying to frustrate the enemy. I use Gambate. And I think... yeah, I go ahead and send out my melee troops because I want to protect the rifle troops. I have my ninjas ready. I think they throw some bombs. I stopped the artillery firing because they're aiming at that cluster and it only hurts us. So we got the enemy general who has now routed and the Shogunate unit has routed. So that's going to free up my cav to hit the enemy from behind. But really, even at this point, the battle's already been decided. Half of their army is routed. There's no real cohesion. My cav can move anywhere I want them to behind the lines. And there's not much that they can really do about it. Some of these Shogunate units hang on stubbornly. But, as I said, the battle's pretty much over. Yet we're trying to break up the rest of their rifle lines so that they won't shoot at my infantry. But like you can see, the Shogunate unit there uses Gambate, and our Yarikachi unit we're pulling them back because we're taking so much friendly fire. I don't think that Shogunate unit even breaks until it gets down to about 5 men. Yep, so they were at, I think they were at 3 or 4 troops when they finally broke. And the enemy army is being routed off the field. I stop all firing so that there's no more friendly fire. Because I honestly think we had more losses from friendly fire than we did from enemy attacks. As you can see, yep, they're down to 30 men. We lost 776, so a little bit pricey, but the army is still functional. And most importantly of all, we shattered, not just shattered, but we destroyed those units. And now my army can move again and we can lay siege to the capital. Well, excuse me, the province's capital. And the Shogunate frontier is shrinking very much. We are rapidly consolidating on the north, or I guess I should say the east and the west. And we're squeezing them between our two offensives. We're making a lot of money. Look at that. We've got 43,000. And we continue to upgrade buildings and defenses, and we just assassinated an enemy geisha, so that was good. The enemy did defeat, or they will defeat the rebellion, as I said. It's not even close. And that's when nope, I didn't realize my mistake, did I? Yeah. Yep, I just realized that mistake and I was like, huh, oops. All right, go back to Ichizen. I realized that one army should be enough to take the far north. And I believe we lay siege, yes. We decide not to attack that. We're going to make them come out to us. It's spring. We got plenty of time. We bombard again. Don't cause a lot of damage, but again, every bit helps. I was just checking to make sure I had already bombarded Edo. So Iburi, out of all my territories, it's the one of the least amount of public order, so I decide to build that up a bit. I do not want any kind of rebellions if I can help it. So there is a big enemy navy that is close to our territories here, our starting territories of Satsuma and Osumi. So I'm going to build another navy that is at least as big, if not bigger, than the one that they have. I load up all of these foolishly onto just one ship, and almost get it almost gets sunk as a result. And that's where I'm going to land them, in Mikawa Bay, or just off of it. I consolidate my navies in this region. One thing I've not had great success in doing is stopping enemy naval ships from slipping past to bombard our territories that are not accurately, well, I can't say accurately, but I can say adequately defended in the rear. They choose to target our trading ports, and it doesn't do a lot of damage. It's more of just an annoyance. Here I'm deciding what I want to research. I think I go, advanced armor-piercing shells is what I go for. For any other future naval battles, I want us to have cutting-edge technology. I don't build any submarines yet, but that's definitely going to be something that I'll work on next time. See, I almost lose those ships with all of those valuable guns on them, but I manage to escape. And normally when you escape in a straight line, the enemy will pursue you, but we got very lucky. The goddess of the sea, whatever that is in Japanese, was smiling on us, that's for sure. Yep, they're starting to make their move, the Matsue, so I'm going to use my ninja this time. And that was the ninjas, not ninjas, the rebels, trying to lay siege to the capital, and they get utterly crushed. We had some bombardments going on, including one of our armies. And that is up in the Sendai region. We'll deal with that in just a second. I'm trying to figure out exactly where these regions are that just got bombarded. Yeah, we sink these two vessels. That was good. A little bit of damage, but nothing we couldn't handle. And then I decided to consolidate the entire navy because we have that big enemy navy, right off the coast of Hyuga. Yeah, that's easily, I didn't see how many stripes, 6, 7 ships. So we definitely want to build up ours. I think I end up building 3 more ships, if memory serves. Yeah, I built 3 Kaitens, all of which have 12 guns. Is it 12 guns? I forget how many guns they have. Alright, our army continues to march on Sapporo. We distract the enemy army, or sabotage it rather. They're not going anywhere this turn. Now that my navy is repaired, I'm going to use 2 navies to bombard the enemy. And that is going to keep them quite busy. We do some major restoration and upgrade projects on Etchu, all with the intent of making money. Whenever you see me, I think this is something I mentioned in the video, whenever you see me clicking fast, I'm usually just upgrading cities and castles and money-making buildings, and that's really about it. And we've done it so often in these videos that I just speed through it now. So I just wanted to let you know that's usually what I'm doing. Our daimyo, with an incomplete army, has laid siege to the enemy, and now we are going to send our more modern units up there. I realize in my infinite wisdom that I forgot to send up the artillery, so I do that as well. We'll bring in the artillery almost as an afterthought. And the foreign veteran, I believe. Yeah. And I take my line infantry that are the most ranked. There's 3 of them. And I take those. And then the rest will be filled out by our new Republican infantry. Yeah, so we take 3 and leave 2. And now that Kaga is sufficiently under our control, we send up those 2 as well. And when we add those other 2 Republican infantry, we'll have another full stack army. Noto has no chance. They are destitute. They can't even build a full stack army. We continue to lay siege on Mino, and I think we distract the enemy armies again. And we're going to keep doing that as long as we can. Yeah, I think we fall that army back because they need they need chances to heal. They're pretty banged up. I don't know if we take out. No, I don't think we decide to leave that ninja alone for this turn. I was just looking to see if I had any units that would have success. And I didn't like the odds that I wouldn't lose an agent trying to kill that ninja. So we knocked the enemy off our trade route. I have no idea what I was talking about there. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think we're 1 or 2 turns away from Sapporo. And yes, our army was getting bombarded by an enemy navy. So I think the last thing I do is I think I take my naval ships. Yeah, we're getting really close to the total number of territories. We need 11 more, and we're close to taking 3 more. So things are going fantastically. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that we're going to make all the requirements needed by the time 1876 rolls around. And, well, yeah. So that was it. That was the video, and I'm talking over the length of the video now, so I'll go ahead and stop here. And sorry about the sound thing, guys. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again, or I'll try to anyway. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.